The Nelson Mandela Bay water crisis is showing no sign of abating. The municipality has less than 10% of usable water in its dams. This number is 3.6% lower than it was at the same time last year. The Water and Sanitation Department says it's working with officials in the metro on intervention projects so as to avoid a system failure situation. For more now, I'm joined from Gqeberha by Joseph Tsatsire. He is the Director for Water Distribution for the Nelson Mandela Bay Municipality, and he joins us virtually. Joseph, thank you so much for your time. You know, I did a quick search on the internet because I was trying to remember when was the last time we saw news stories on the water crisis in Gqeberha and the Nelson Mandela Bay Municipality as a whole. And it is a story that kind of went quiet in the last quarter of last year, which I suppose would have lulled us into a false sense that the crisis was over and that we didn't have to talk about this issue anymore, that Nelson Mandela Bay got some water and all is good. But that isn't the case, is it? How dire is the situation right now?
Thank you very much. Thank you to your viewers as well. You know, exactly that's the point. I think, you know, the region has been suffering drought for the past 7 years. And we are actually getting what I call drought fatigue. And it actually does, you know, give a false sense, you know, that, you know, we are out of the woods. People are no longer listening to the news around drought. You know, it's as if, you know, it's something that we say often. But the situation is quite dire as we speak. You know, as rightfully said, you know, our dams are sitting, you know, just around 14.9%. Taking into account, you know, debt storage, we are plus or minus, you know, 5% of usable water in our dams. And this is quite a crisis point as we speak. And obviously, given, you know, the temperatures currently, we are experiencing some of the hottest month of the year, we have actually, you know, increased consumption as we speak. And I think in the next couple of weeks, we might experience intermittent supply in this region.
Where do you think this drought fatigue, as you call it, is coming from? Obviously, it's not your job in terms of communication and getting the correct narrative out there. But do you think that that's been lacking in communicating to residents about how dire the situation is?
Look, our communication department has been quite doing a lot of, you know, good work, you know, around communicating and having innovative way of putting the message across. But I think with time, you know, obviously 7 years is quite a long time. And I think people are just getting tired of the message. But obviously they haven't folded their arms. They continue to do the good work. And I think with partnership of yourselves as well, I think we continue to spread the message and ensure that, you know, people understand that we are in a crisis and we need to collaborate and work together to ensure that, you know, we don't reach a point where, you know, the system collapses completely.
Now, I spoke to my colleague Ronald Masinda a little earlier, and you had also spoken to him during the course of the day. And he gave us a sense that there are many residents who are rather frustrated about the lack of access to water. We have just been showing pictures of people lining up with their buckets to get their water. And we all know that the picture is a little different in the suburbs of Gqeberha, for instance. How have you gone about trying to ensure that the places that are populated the most, where the need is the most, are getting the water, and that residents of Gqeberha are getting access to water equitably based on the resources that you have?
Thank you very much. And I think we have developed, you know, an emergency continuity plan to ensure that, you know, we continue to supply basic water to all our residents, regardless of, you know, their status in the society, whether affluent, poor, or middle class. You know, but I think we also operate, you know, a hydraulic system that is based on gradient and so forth, which is almost integrated. You know, and I think, to a greater extent, you know, we have been distributing water equitably. And I can give you an assurance that most of the middle class, you know, suburbs, which have actually experienced as well intermittent supply due to the fact that, you know, some of the failures in the system happened. And I think most of the areas that are being shown now currently are possibly areas, you know, around Kariega, Utnek, as we used to call it. They used to get water from, you know, one of our dams, Luri dams. There's a special dedicated, you know, dam that used to get water for that area. But I think we have now made interventions to ensure that we supply them from other, sources as well that use to supply, to the western areas. So we have tried to integrate the system to ensure that everybody, get water regardless of class or regardless of, color, within the city. But obviously it comes with challenges. The conventional way of providing water, as we know, it's a pipe system. But when we actually venture into, tankering water and ensuring, that we provide basic services, it come with these challenges. And I think we work on those and improve, as we live.
Are we heading to a point of a water load shedding? If I couldn't come up with a better phrase, but cutting off water at certain times of days to certain areas. What is the next phase if the situation doesn't improve anytime soon?
Water shedding has got its hydraulic challenges. As we call it, we have designed an emergency system which you're going to actually have to provide water intermittently, to communities, depending, on where they are seated. I think our design has been that, we leave, the arteries of our reticulation system live and cuts all suburbs, regardless of color, regardless of race. And we actually then design collection points where people will actually pick up water, from those points. And this, we thought it's a better way of actually managing the crisis. Otherwise, cutting off water and because of gradients as well as, the hydraulic system, it actually tends to create more problems, air in the system, creating unstable conditions, pests, and other communities will not have water, within that process. So I think we have designed an emergency system that will actually provide intermittent supply, at any given point in time.
One final question before I let you go, Joseph. Obviously, as with all of our major coastal cities, festive season and tourism season is especially important to the Nelson Mandela Bay municipality. Have we seen any impact that the water crisis has had on your tourism numbers, or have we at least seen the hotels and those kinds of places come on board to try and get even the visitors of the city to use water sparingly as well?
From our tourism colleagues, I think I have had, that we actually had quite a good, turn of visitors in the city. Most of the people are actually beginning to flock into the city, to enjoy their holidays. But again, it's actually provided us with challenges from a consumption point of view. I think just before, the holiday season, our consumption was sitting around 272 megaliters on a daily basis. But as we speak currently, we have actually increase the consumption to about 286 megaliters on a daily basis. And obviously, it's also the numbers of people that came in, but I think it's also attributable to heat as well that we are experiencing currently as we speak. So yeah, we have actually had an impact from a water consumption point of view. The footprint has increased, and it provides challenges, going into the future, because, if this trend continues, means that, in the next couple of months, plus or minus 3 months, we might then begin to experience intermittent supply within pockets of our consumers in the city.
Okay, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for that update. That's Joseph Tsatsire. He is the Director for Water Distribution for the Nelson Mandela Bay Municipality.